Women at L&A are incredible, and my leadership team just constantly blows me away by how strong they are and how empathetic they are and what a beautiful leadership style they have.
The women at L&A are wonderful. I would say they are powerful, smart, focused, and kind. I think kindness is something we value as well.
The women at L&A are all headstrong, incredibly talented, and really driven to be the best version of themselves that they can be.
The values I would use to describe the women at L&A are very strong. They have a very strong growth mindset. They are really willing to push boundaries and to do more. They're confident. They are proud of themselves and the teams that they work on. And they are empathetic and aren't afraid of being empathetic. They don't hide their emotions and hide their softness, and they use that to a huge amount of strength in leading the team as well.
I've found the women in leadership positions and all through the company to be really fierce, fiercely independent, fiercely intelligent, fiercely funny, fiercely engaged with themselves and their position in the world, not just from their gender point of view but from their intellectual and social point of view. I've just been educated and lifted up by all the women and of all the ages, and I've particularly loved working with a lot of the younger women.
The women at L&A are absolute boss babes. They just go out and get shit done. It is absolutely amazing, and off the back of that, they're also just so supportive and so welcoming.
We need more women in leadership just to bring that diversity and new view and perspective and empathy as well. Also that kind of organization that women empower.
The woman I've always admired is Ruth Ginsburg, and obviously everyone in the world loves her, but we have such a similar background. We were both raised in Brooklyn and both immigrated as political asylum and religious asylum into the States. I've always just felt that she sets such a good example of how you could be strong and push the boundaries, but also not compromise on being feminine and still enjoying being a woman. So I think she just ties those in together really well, and she's really revolutionized things for women, and especially within the US government. So I really admire her.
I have to go with my mom. My mom is a big inspiration to me. She essentially created her new form of psychology practice, so she developed a new way to do it back in the 90s. And for her, I think it was quite bold because she questioned the norm, and she also was one of the first really empowered female leaders back in my childhood. And one of the biggest things that she taught me was just around kindness. I think she leads with kindness and care. She's incredibly caring, which I think are great traits in leadership.
A woman that's positively inspired me is my mum. I think she had a full, long career leading really incredible teams in quite a male-dominated industry, and did that all while raising a family at the same time. And I think being able to balance that and do it at such a high level is something, they're kind of achievements to aspire to.
A woman that's positively inspired me, it's a little cliche, but it's definitely my mother. She has always been a force in a lot of ways in my life. She's very opinionated but soft. She's empathetic, but she definitely speaks her mind. So she has always taught me to stand my ground. She's taught me about how to view myself and how I'm viewed by the world, and to not back down from a fight or any sort of challenge in my life, and to face it head on and just go for it.
The women who have positively inspired me are actually our whole leadership team at L&A. I feel like all of them are just so different, and I'm learning something new from all of them every single day. It's amazing.
Well, I think I've purposely kind of surrounded myself with a lot of women that inspire me every day, but I would definitely say that, as cheeseball as it sounds, that one woman would be my mum. She's very creative, driven. She just kind of puts her whole heart into everything she does, and I think I wouldn't have pursued a kind of creative career if it wasn't for her like positive influence and encouragement and things like that. So yeah.
So the one woman that's really positively inspired me, there've been, thousands, but particularly that came to mind was a woman called Elizabeth Wilkins. She's the founder and director of Communications for Commerce. And she's a former television executive and management consultant and executive coach. And she taught me just before I was going to have my first baby that your world doesn't get smaller when you, take maternity leave and leave the workforce. But in fact, you can think of your different roles like circles, and they all expand. So my role as a worker expands, my capability as a mother grows and expands, my ability as a daughter, sister, wife expands, a social person within my community expands. So instead of feeling like the world was going to get smaller, I realised, thanks to her, that everything was going to get bigger and I was going to grow. And that is something that I've been able to draw out and hand, down to younger women as well. Yeah.
I'd probably say there's quite a few, but I think that recently it's been Florence Given, who is the author of Women Don't Owe You Pretty. She's taught me to just challenge myself a little bit. It's been a really interesting experience reading the book and then reflecting on the things that you thought you knew or you thought were right. And that's the lesson I've learned.
I think I'm mostly inspired by my wife. She's a really perseverant, innovative, and empowering woman. And I think the lesson that she told me is just to persevere and chase my dreams, and that is what we're doing.
If I was to give my 10-year-old self a piece of advice, it would be just to be more brave and make quick decisions. I think sometimes as women, we're raised to overthink things, and I think one of the best things you could do as a young person and a young woman is to be brave and push the boundaries and not be afraid of what other people think.
I would tell my 10-year-old self to be more confident. I think you kind of grow up listening to everyone around you, and it takes a while to understand that you do have the ability to think critically and to trust yourself and just to have that confidence from a young age. And I think being at L&A, that's actually something that we try to foster and develop, and something that I've personally learned from Gina as well. So yeah, probably that.
If I could tell my 10-year-old self a piece of advice, it would be just not to stress or worry about everything. There's always so many people supporting you that can help you get through pretty much every situation.
I would tell my 10-year-old self to not be afraid to make mistakes, to really, again, just go for it, to take on challenges and to not be afraid to fail, that it's okay to fail, and you can have fun while you're failing as well, and you learn a lot. So stop focusing on perfection and just start focusing on doing really cool things and growing, and also just being a kid. I think sometimes we forget, especially as we get older, that we're still kids. So, you can achieve and you can be a bit of a perfectionist, but you can still have fun while you're doing it.
If I could tell my 10-year-old self a piece of advice, it would be that you're safe, that you're loved and lovable, and to enjoy, every moment. Yeah.
So my 10-year-old self was very shy and kept very much to myself and very quiet. So I think I would have told myself that confidence comes, give it time, and just to back yourself.
Know your worth, first and foremost, and then stand up for it too.
I mean, leadership is all about diversity. So I think having a really diverse leadership team is absolutely critical to success, and that means having, a well-rounded team of women, a well-rounded team of people from different backgrounds and genders, and that really leads to making sure that you have a really healthy and robust business as well, and one that's inclusive for everyone.
I think that we don't just need more women in leadership, but I think we need all types of diversity in leadership. I think that, you know, when you have people from different backgrounds and different perspectives and different stories, that's really how you can make a difference and make change moving forward.
Women in leadership provide a whole different perspective and a unique voice that without having female leaders, you just don't get the full picture.
And for me, I think there's just such an incredible gift that women can give in leadership and management, which is around the kind of emotional quotient of their value proposition and their reading of situations and their ability to act decisively and independently.
The values that I will use to describe women at L&A is they are super empowering, innovative, and yeah, great leaders as well.
Why we really need more women in leadership is that I know from me, like when I was young, to see women in leadership, it just kind of allowed me to think that I could be there too. And I think now we have a real opportunity to kind of carve the way for the next generation of women and also just bring more like gender diversity into the workplace.